And you're facing 40 years.
Yeah.
You're, 26 years old?
25, 26, yeah.
25, 26 years old. They're essentially telling you you're going to get out when you're a senior citizen.
Yeah.
What does that do to a 25-year-old's head?
I couldn't fathom even I think before the ticket thing came, my lawyers were like, listen, Billy, you're going to jail and you're probably going to do 2 years. Like the charges carry a maximum of long periods of time. I think they're always using that in the press. Like my lawyer's like, you're probably going to do 2 years in jail. And I heard that 2 years, I almost fainted at that meeting. And I think at that point in my life, I was literally living by the hour. And particularly in this lead up to Fyre Festival, it's like, will I have enough money by 2 o'clock to stay afloat? And now somebody tells me 2 years, I couldn't fathom that much time. And I just got so scared. And ultimately I was sentenced to 6 years, 3x that, largely because of the tickets. But yeah, I think that meeting with my lawyers, remember in their office, hey, you got to call your family, you have to call your friends, you're going to jail. And I'm like, what? Are you guys serious? There's nothing we can do? And yeah, there's nothing we can do.
Right, because this is a federal case?
Federal case, yeah.
Right. 95% conviction rate.
Yeah.
I mean, Ja Rule beat him back in the day, but that was also
I was guilty as hell.
You were guilty.
Yeah, there's no you couldn't even fight it. I gave fake numbers. There was
right.
There's no defense to that. I was guilty.
Well, right, because when you plead guilty, you don't really know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You could still get your 40 years.
Yeah.
So when you heard the 6 years, was it a sigh of relief or was it worse than you thought?
No, I thought I was going to get, I can be honest now, I thought I was going to get 4 after the fact. All right, you're going to get 2 before. Now I think they're going to double it. You're going to get 4. So I thought I was going to get 4. And then I heard the 6. I'm like, fuck. I started doing the math. Now I'm 26. I'm 32. I have a cousin who's 32. They're so much older than me. You start breaking it down to basic human relationships and thoughts, and that fucking scared the hell out of me.
Okay, so now you go to prison.
Yeah.
And ironically enough, your first day in jail, they gave you a cheese sandwich.
They did.
Was that on purpose?
On purpose.
What did you think when you saw the cheese sandwich?
I thought it was a joke. I'm like, can I actually get the hamburger? They're like, no, you're sticking with the cheese sandwich. I'm like, no, but really, can you get the hamburger? They're like, no, you're sticking with the cheese sandwich. It took 10 minutes for me to realize, it's not a joke. I'm like, oh, I understood.
You gotta hand it to him. At least they have a sense of humor.
It was
about
funny.
it.
It was good.
I'm sure at the time it wasn't funny, but now it's funny.
I ended up becoming close to the guy who actually who
gave you the cheese sandwich.
Gave me the cheese sandwich, but he was a nice guy. But yeah, it was I literally thought they were joking for 10, 15 minutes. Guys, but for real now, can I eat? Nope.
Nope.
It's all over. Kitchen's closed.
Right. Well, you also got a lifetime ban to serve as a corporate officer or director.
Of a public company.
Of a public company. So you could do private companies, but not public. But you never were a corporate officer in a public company.
No, never was.
So,
yeah.
Kind of a whatever.
I hope I have that issue, right, where, my next business is doing so well that becomes a big enough for that. But.
Yeah, Martin Shkreli, I think, had the same situation.
Got it.
Yeah, and you guys were locked up together at one point, or in the same building or something?
We were in the same halfway house when we were released. I think our schedules were different, but the same period of time.
Got it. And you also have to pay $26 million restitution back to the original investors on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess one of the investors wrote a letter to the judge recommending a life sentence.
Crazy.
When you heard that, what'd you think?
I think that there was one investor who spoke at my sentencing, and I think it was that investor. And now I recognize, but at the time I was angry because I never met him before. I didn't know who it was. I'm like, who's this guy speaking? And oh, it's one of your investors. And then I think he gets up and says, during all my meetings with Billy, I'm like, I never met with this guy. He's lying. And he was lying, but that took away from the real purpose of it. And I spoke about this, at length recently. But I think a lot of the real victims were people I never met, right? They were a family member of an employee. They were, someone else who's paying legal bills to support someone who's now roped into the situation. So I think ultimately a fraud crime, the victims aren't necessarily the ones who lost money. They are the victims, but the victims are, friends, associates, innocent bystanders. And I think it took me 8 years after that sentencing day to really realize that. So I think at the time I was mad, this guy's lying. But now I'm I fucking get it, right? He was brought in by somebody else, and sure, I never met him, but he was still as much of a victim as anybody else.
Yeah, he lost money.
Yeah, lost money, for sure, yeah.